Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Blank. I'm president of Lower Makefield Farmland Preservation, Inc., and welcome to our March 2021 meeting. And joining me tonight, I'll let you introduce yourself, Dan.
Dan Bankowski, treasurer.
Sean.
Sean Carney, member.
And Dawn.
Hello, how are you?
So Dawn is our another new member too. Sean and Dawn are our newest members. So we'll start off with approval of the minutes of our last meeting, February 15th. Do I have a motion? Any comments, first of all, on those? Do I have a motion to approve?
I second.
I didn't even make a motion. I was asking for a motion.
Oh.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from February 15th?
I'll motion that we approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Raise your hands. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So approved. The next item is, I thought it would be a good idea, since we've had so much momentum, actually, I'd call it, building on what we've done. And I have to get the document, get this open. Well, hang on a second. Let's see if we get this open. Let me go back and share my screen. Here it is. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I thought it'd be a good idea for us to recognize what achievements we've done, and also for the public, for those who are listening in now or listening later, to go over what we've accomplished through 2020 and into 2021. So the first thing I wanted to cover was our efforts to protect farmland and our efforts to conserve the soil. So we have soil conservation plans that are done through the Bucks County Conservation District, it's called, and we work with a technician there on all of our parcels, and we've updated several of those conservation plans. We've actually added farmland preservation to the signature line. That wasn't done in the past, so that's an advance for us. And we're in the process of doing a major project and moving soil around and getting better drainage on the Stackhouse farm off of Dolington. That's coming up pretty soon. We should see a bulldozer or two out there fairly soon before the planting begins. The other thing we've done is, as everyone knows, the deer are plentiful in Lower Makefield Township. They love your garden and tomatoes, but they love our farmers' fields too, the soybeans and corn that's grown there. And Dennis Stedman, who's not on the call, our vice president, has taken it upon himself to institute what's called a red tag hunting program. Now, this allows for agricultural purposes farmers to hunt deer year round, and not only just during the deer hunting season. And Dennis has started this, got it going next year, and hopes to expand it this year. We've gotten great cooperation from the farmers. And then on an ongoing basis, we've had bamboo growing on our parcels, our properties, either de novo that they've just started to grow there, or from our neighbors, some of whom have wanted to grow bamboo for privacy and other reasons. And with the new ordinance by Lower Makefield Township, they need to keep it 10 feet back from a neighbor's fence. They need to put up a protective barrier. And with the bamboo growing on our side of our fences too, we've had to do the same thing. So we've instituted a 4 times a year removal and remediation program. Dan Bankowski has been instrumental in getting this done with a contractor, and that's been going well, I would say. And please, if any comments, Dan, Sean, Dawn, as we go along, please chime in. So we've also started with some ideas for expanding the use of our farmland. We have leases, of course, with our farmers to grow corn, to grow soybeans, and other agricultural products. But we've explored the option of having honeybee keeping done on one of our parcels. It's Makefield Brook, that has some wooded area there. And you'll hear more about an update for the next agenda item that I have. Everyone knows that honeybees are useful for all of our plants. Well, they're also useful for agricultural purposes too. So we're starting in the wooded area of Makefield Brook, not actually on the farmland that's used for agricultural purposes, but in the wooded area. There's a large wooded area there, to have a couple of honeybee hives as a pilot program. We haven't fully approved this. This is still in discussion, but if we go forward, I think it'd make a nice addition to what we do. Historical article search. Two gentlemen from Langhorne approached us. They do this search with metal detectors throughout the county. They look at maps, look at where old houses used to be. They've approached us. Our farmers didn't have a problem with it, and they're going to search our area, our farms as well. They haven't told us exactly which ones and when, but they're in the process of looking at maps and developing a plan. So we'll hear more about that from them. Then in terms of getting as good relations as we can with our neighbors, we always want to have good relations with our neighbors. We've sent a clarifying letter to neighbors end of January, early February. We have nearly 200 neighbors that border our properties, Sean being one of them. And in this letter, we introduced our farmland preservation to the neighbors, introduced the farms that farm those, the farmers that farm those properties. And we also set expectations for what we'd like to do, what we say we will do as far as keeping the buffers clear, the fencing clear, and also what our expectations of our neighbors are, that they also do their bit to keep their side of the fence as clean as possible. It'll be a win-win if we all do that. And as far as fencing, we've replaced some fencing where needed, where trees or bushes have grown into the fencing. We've cleaned up some areas where vines have actually grown into the fencing, created quite a mess. So we've cleaned up those as well. Any comments up to now? Okay. As far as maintaining buffers, this is something that for those who listen in and those who have participated over time, we spend a large amount of our time discussing keeping the 25-foot wide area between our property line, which is shown by a fence, and the farming area. We have to have a 25-foot area. And over the years, over 25, 30 years since the developments that were put in, and this buffer area, there was certain vegetation that was mandated by the development plans to be put in there, certain trees, certain bushes, and that's gotten out of hand over the years. So we have to stay at it. And two areas that really needed work were Stackhouse and Leadham Farm, and we've continued clean out. And Sean has been a supporter and done great work there with our contractor. And we're continuing to do that. We've developed plans for future maintenance, how we're going to approach this once we get the problem areas cleaned up going forward. We've provided better ways. You'll hear in a second how we've used MS Teams as a great tool to communicate between us and keep us all updated on what the conditions of the buffers are. And then a method to also quarterly verify that the farmers are cutting the buffers, just to let us know when. So we're doing that as well. As far as the board goes, we're up to full capacity with Sean Carney and Dawn Bach joining at the end of the year. And their last year, we're up to full capacity at 5. We haven't been at 5 for a long time. I think Dan can attest to that. And we have something on the board called our operating principles, how we are going to work together via emails, how we say we'll get back to each other with communications, and some other principles that we will follow. And I think it helps us work more smoothly and more efficiently. We did hold an executive session using MS Teams that I'm going to mention in a moment for buffer maintenance, to how we're going to approach that. Some of those things I've touched on before. And Sean has been instrumental in us implementing Microsoft Teams, and with that chat function, as well as optimizing the use of SharePoint, which Dan was instrumental in getting us on to begin with, to get all our documents together, historical and all our board minutes, et cetera, are in there. So that's been a great help for us. And lastly, financially, Dan was key in getting our assets moved to a more friendly environment, consumer-friendly environment, where we can now deposit checks with our app. We can have greater visibility of just more than one person of where the accounts are and what the investments are. So we've moved both our investment part and our cash management accounts too. We can also pay electronically by bill pay through this vendor. And lastly, Dan has created a parcel maintenance database, really an Excel spreadsheet, that gives us how much we are spending by field, by farmer, and by season, to give us a better handle on how much we feel we can spend to keep the buffers clean and make other improvements and maintenance as necessary. So all that taken together, I think it makes for a more efficient board and gets us further along in doing what we're supposed to be doing, is keeping this farming land in perpetuity for agricultural purposes. So with that, I will end and see if anybody has any comments. Are there any comments from the public, first of all?
No public comment.
Okay. Dan, Sean? And Dawn as well.
No,
So
nope, all good.
I don't see you. That's why I did.
I know.
Okay. No? Okay.
Nope.
No.
Well, thank you. Okay. So I think,
Thanks for putting that together, Mike.
yeah, no problem. Good work, everybody. It's thanks to you all that we're able to put up those accomplishments. So good job, everyone. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic, which is proposed honeybee keeping. Dennis Stedman has asked me to give an update. He's written an email with that update to me. Janelle Kieslick, who's our recording secretary, just Janelle, when you listen to this, just know that I will send you an email with this update so you can just type it in from there. But what's been done as far as the honeybee keeping is a lease between us, Farmland Preservation, and Dr. Sternad, who's the neighbor who's an entomologist who wants to, had approached us about putting up a honeybee hives. There is a draft of a lease that's been drawn up by Dennis, provisionally agreed to by Dr. Sternad and us, but it's subject, of course, to final board approval and agreement with Sam Stewart. From all that we can tell, they look good, and Sam wouldn't have a problem with it, but that needs to be done formally. And then Dennis has created a side letter agreement with Sam Stewart, so that, and he needs to review this based on informal discussions. Dennis says that Sam Stewart wouldn't have a problem with this, so that the lease agreement will be between Farmland Preservation and Dr. Sternad, and then there'll be a side letter agreement with the lessee, Sam Stewart, who agrees that this can go on. And so far, Sam and Tim Stewart say they don't have any problem with that. Then we had agreed that we'd send a letter to neighbors providing notice and seeking input, and that's been drafted. We've reviewed that. Dr. Sternad has reviewed it. The names and addresses of the 28 bordering neighbors have been compiled to receive the letter. And then Dennis said that we plan to send the letters March 20th, around March 20th. He also, when he's now traveling, when he gets back, he would walk the wooded area with Dr. Sternad to select the exact location. He said that it would be no closer than, I think it was 10 feet or 10 yards. I don't remember that exactly, but it's something that Sam felt he was comfortable with, the distance. And then we'd have a final vote on this at our next meeting in April, so that the honeybee operation could get going in the 2021 season. So that's Dennis's update. Any comments on that?
No.
No. Okay. So we will turn to Dan for the treasurer's report.
So not much. We received our last rent check from our last conversation, so we haven't had no other expenses the last 30 days. But we have received all our rent checks then for the year.
Oh, okay. That makes it easy. And okay. Any questions for Dan? Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Okay, so updates on parcel issues is the next topic. First of all, Farm View 1, the drainage there. There's some minor fencing issues and just in general soil conservation.
Is that me? I'm just trying to get to the agenda.
Yes, that's you, Dan. You going to bring up a map or something, or you're?
No.
That's you.
I mean, I think we've talked about this a couple times, so I don't think there's too much to talk about. But at this point, a week ago, Mike and I we met with Greg Hucklebridge from Public Works Department. We walked that bottom part of the parcel and really just trying to walk through and understand kind of just the elevation at the very bottom. And there's some, a bit of a rock retaining wall that prevents water from flowing more freely into that basin there. But it may be done purposefully. We're just trying to, but it prevents some of it or keeps some of it up on the, inside the field and creates pooling down there. So we're just going through, and Greg was going to go back and take a look at some of the original plans for that and find those just to confirm, if it was, what was part of those original plans, if it was purposeful. There's certain, drainage issues and flooding issues and elevation issues as it relates to those basins. So he was just double checking that for us. And then I think we can regroup and kind of help formulate another plan or take it from there. But he certainly understood exactly what we were talking about. So I think we got the right person that we're connected with now.
Yeah. And as far as the neighbors that Mr. Patel.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're in a bit of a holding pattern there. We already spoke. Actually, we need to connect with Tim, don't we? I got to connect with Tim or Tim Stewart or Dennis. I don't know if Dennis spoke with Tim about that area right there, but just about not farming that corner down there in the bottom.
Right.
And does anyone happen to know if they are planning on doing corn or soybeans in that field this year?
I don't.
If it's truly alternating, Dan, it should be soybeans this year.
Yeah.
Some of the fields, they don't alternate.
Okay.
I think they do there. Some of the fields like Clearview, they do not, because of just the nature of the soil and the terrain there. But Dan, I mean, I thought that that the next step would be that you would talk to Tim or Sam or both about the idea of doing that. If that's your
Yep.
that's your field.
Yeah, Dennis was involved. I don't know if he happened to have talked with them. I don't know that answer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and how did the idea that of just not farming that, is that something that came from Tom as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then, I mean, Greg's point of view was we could do whatever we wanted to do to try to minimize it, but after that, it's really the homeowners that need to do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that other side over there is a township issue in any form. So.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
But agreed. You know, this isn't. We certainly want to do what we can in a reasonable way to decrease, water flow and drainage that isn't necessary or that can be slowed down in a reasonable fashion. But, beyond that, water flows downhill. So.
Yeah. Right. And then the large ponding, and we saw large ponding when we walked that with Greg. If he finds that in the original plan that was kind of an emergency overflow and all those rocks were put there on purpose, then it's just there's not much we can do about it and just can't be farmed. That's all.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the next time we get with Bucks County Conservation and that we are speaking with them with respect to that parcel, just see what else they have to say. But I agree. I don't know if there's much else to do at that point.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, we're doing what we can already in the center of that field, keeping the soil up in the field and the other, that kind of the piece through the center there with the grass. So yeah, we'll kind of see how it goes and take it from there.
Yeah. And that the portion in the center that runs down the length of that field, that was supposed to be widened. And Tim had said that they were going to do that. So that's another follow-up for the stewards as well.
Yeah. Mike, maybe we can, I think you wrote a letter to the stewards or an email when we walked through those properties and we had, over a year ago,
right,
and had some agreements on things that needed to happen. Do you recall?
I do, but not definitely. I do recall something. We did.
Let's see if we can get that, because maybe that'll be what we can revisit by way of that.
Yeah. Yep. So I need to put my mic on here. Hang on a second. Let me change to a headset. How is that? Is that any
Much
better?
better.
Okay, good. All right. So there's a number of follow-up items there. So the letter to the stewards, asking about not farming that. Still waiting for Greg to come back to us. Greg. And that's also yes. I would say letters to us and follow up on Tim's promise to widen that area.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Actions. I'm putting that down. All right, turn to Sean for Leadham and Stackhouse, the buffer clean out that I mentioned.
Sure. Okay. So similar to Farm View 1, we've talked about this a couple of times, so no reason for any maps or anything like that, just more of an update. Leadham's, if you recall, Leadham's coming off of Dolington is about 1,000 yards long. The project that we're going to embark on, which will begin on Monday, is going to be concentrating on about 500 yards of the 1,000-yard fence line, moving west up the fence to take care of areas that are more overgrown, have a lot more dense bushes, trees, viney areas, and so on in the buffer. So Matt Corcoran Landscaping will begin on Monday. It should be about a 1-week job to go through. They're also going to do things that will help with buffer maintenance in the future, such as trim up some of the larger trees 8 to 10 feet off the ground so that the tractors with mowers can fit under there with ease. Once he's done with that, I'm going to walk the fence line, and I haven't decided whether I'll take video snapshots or just pictures so that we can document them, because as you know, we'll be turning this lease over from Tom McGowan to the Stewarts. And at that time, we'll have some good pictures of what the buffer looks like at the time that we're doing that, so that we'll be able to maintain it to that standard going forward. And then Stackhouse, we have a couple of issues on Stackhouse that we'll be addressing, but it will be addressed within a larger clean out. So the following Monday, Corcoran Landscaping will begin on Stackhouse, working from the top of Stackhouse down. We'll see where they are in 1 week's time. If they're past the main problem areas that we've noted, as far as a fallen tree and the fence line and some pretty thick vegetation behind that fence line, then perhaps we'll end after 1 week. If we're not quite through the problem areas, or it looks like another day or two would be quite beneficial for us in putting out proactive dollars instead of reactive dollars, then perhaps we'll continue with that. But in the next 2 weeks, those projects will be embarked on and complete, and we'll have that done before April, which was ultimately our goal, so that we didn't interfere at all with the spring planting.
Very good. Excellent. Sounds good. All right, we can go. Any comments on that, or any? Well, let me ask John. Any comments from the public?
No public comment.
Okay. Comments from Dan or Dawn on the parcel issues we just went over?
No, I think Sean's doing a good job.
Thanks, John.
Okay,
You're
good.
welcome.
So we'll go right into plans for ongoing buffer maintenance in a larger sense about what you're doing as far as the proposed contract and et cetera.
Sure. So at the outset, Mike, during the achievements for the board, you had mentioned the executive meeting that we held. So in that executive meeting on buffer maintenance, which again, as you mentioned, is a large percentage of what we discussed, we had come up with a couple of ideas, and we're beginning to put some things in motion. So one of the first things that we put in motion is a buffer maintenance, quarterly minutes document. I've built that and put it in the shared file for all to view. I think that after taking the input of everyone on the board, I think it's ready to be sent out. I just need some direction from more senior people on the board as far as how we want to do that. Do we want to simply take it and email it off? Do we want to print it out and hand it to the farmers? However, but we just want to introduce it as kind of a new, transparent item that we're going to have for many reasons. One, we can kind of see when the quarterly work is being done, how long it's being done for. If there's any issues that we need to know about, we'll know about them much sooner, as well as if we're contacted by any neighbors about any problem areas, we can go back and look in our documents and be able to see when the farmer was last out there and if there's any notes about that. So again, just being a bit more transparent so that we can be more transparent with the neighbors, and the farmers can keep us up to date with what they're doing as far as buffer maintenance going forward. So that's one. And then two is I have drafted an agreement with Corcoran Landscaping. I put that for review today. Still have a few follow-up items and would like some feedback before going forward. But ultimately, what we're doing here is entering into an agreement with a contractor that we've dealt with in past years for buffer maintenance and ad hoc as well as emergency help. So during the winter time, purchasing a set amount of days to have buffer maintenance done that we will do in accordance with our priority, our book of priority that we've put together on the different parcels, as well as during the summer, we will have this person ultimately on retainer to be able to help us with projects as they come up or emergency projects, a tree falls in a storm or so on. And ultimately to have as kind of, a consultant as well. We've walked these parcels with Matt. He knows them well. Very good insight as to what we should be doing for the future of these. So just putting together an agreement. Also, he does the bamboo work. So this agreement will be all encompassing. It will, scope all of the work that he does for us and put it into one agreement that will look to kind of contract out 3 years, because when we went through our priority items, it looked like about a 3-year program that we wanted to embark on. So this would line up with that.
Why don't we take a moment and go back to your point about how to introduce this quarterly maintenance form to the farmers. My first thought was hand it to them, talk them through it. I think,
agree.
Yeah, because sending an email be a little bit impersonal, and all of a sudden they get an email for this. So
yeah, I would agree for a couple of reasons. Being new to the board, I would love to meet a few of the farmers to begin with. This would be a great way to do it. Number two, we introduce it as exactly what it is, and it wouldn't come across in any other way than simply just being something new that we want to put forward. And then we can leave it to the farmer whether they want to take a snapshot of it and send us back a picture of it, or email it, or they want to give it to us personally, however we want to do it. But I think it'd be a great way for Dawn and I, for instance, to be able to meet the farmers, get to know them, and it would be much more personal, like you said, Mike. So I'd be in favor of printing it out and giving it to them as well.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that is, where now? That's on a shared drive, or it's
that is in the folder. Yes.
On the buffer maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll take that as an action item to arrange with the farmers, and then get you and Dawn to see if we can put that together and go out and talk to them.
That would be great. I'd like that. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So this. So any comments from the public on? Are we done with that topic? Let me just ask Dan and Dawn. Any comments on that?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, we're good.
Good. And John, any comments from the public?
No public comment.
Okay. So this kind of flows right into something I wanted. We're on other business now, and I wanted to talk about something that we've done since I was on the board, and Dan as well, and that is something we call a spring tour. I had forgotten about. We in the past have gone out with Tom McGowan and kind of driven through or walked through, depending on the weather, all of our parcels, especially the ones we wanted to look at in depth. Now we've done much more walking and doing and looking at these parcels in the past little while ourselves.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I think it'd be a nice way to introduce Sean and Dawn to the parcels maybe they haven't seen yet.
Well, maybe it's a little bit more
That sounds
targeted. Maybe it's also more targeted here for, one, getting Tim or Sam so that it works with their schedule. And because in particular, if we choose a couple more specific fields, perhaps.
Sure.
But I agree. It's we've kind of been out to a lot of these parcels recently. Hey, Mike.
I don't think we can hear Mike. Can we hear Mike?
No.
I think I disconnected.
There you go.
Hey,
Now you just muted yourself.
There you go. Now we can hear you.
Going back to built-in. I'm
There you go.
going back
There you go.
to my, yeah, I'll just yell.
all right.
Okay. Sorry about that. So I think I was saying that I was going to look at why don't we look at our schedule? So I was thinking it should be after the 15th for Dan of April. Any possibility?
Maybe we try to connect with somebody on just there's Tim on why don't we connect with Tim? Let's start with Tim.
Okay. All right.
Tim and Sam, let's start with them about when they might be available, and let's take it from there, I think.
Okay.
It's got to be early enough for them before you get into, planning season.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Okay. I can also follow up. I don't know, Sean, if you know more about what's going on with Stackhouse and plans to move some soil around there.
I do not know anything on timing. I drive by there every day and I keep looking for a machine to be there, but I'm just, kind of waiting. It's still very soft. Putting those size machines out there right now, I think you'd rut it up pretty quick. So yeah. I think in the next couple of days between the temperatures and the wind, we could get some drying out. But as of right now, I think it's a little too soft.
Okay. All right. So I'll take that as an action to check with Tim on his schedule and we'll go from there. Any other business?
No.
Okay. So I will review some action items here that I scratched down. So I'm going to look for a letter to the stewards that had to do with their responsibilities. The question mark, Dan, is this for you to follow up with Tim on his promise to widen?
Yeah, I'd like to see if we can find that letter first.
Okay. Yep. I'll do that. And I'll let you know. So we'll go from there. About not farming. Well, that's something new, but you're going to follow up with Dennis about whether you had any communications about not farming that?
Yeah, I don't think he did. Again, I think I'll wait for the letter so I can just have one conversation rather than multiple.
Yeah. Okay. Greg Hucklebridge, we're still waiting for him.
Yep.
So let's see if I guess he's been communicating with you, Dan, right?
Yep.
I have to send Dennis's summary to Janelle for the minutes. I'm going to arrange with the farmers to get this quarterly maintenance form to them and let Sean and Dawn know so you can introduce yourselves to them, and also deliver the new form and tell
Mike,
them.
may I suggest that it in being as efficient as possible with stewards having 70% of the land, can we kind of just coordinate when we do the spring tour, perhaps just having them ready for then?
Good idea. We'll do.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm going to write that down. So, tour. Okay. We all need to review Sean's draft of the agreement with Corcoran Landscaping. So, Sean, are you looking for a date?
No, I'm simply looking for you to each read it over and make sure that it's in the spirit of what we spoke about at the meeting, and that we're on the same page. I would like to introduce this to Matt when he's doing leadums next week, and get it signed by both us and he, and put this in our file, and begin moving on it. So, if it can be done before next week, that would be great. It'll be nothing more than me printing it out and going and meeting him on the other side of the fence come next week, which would be very convenient.
Okay. Sounds good. Mm-hmm.
There are two things in there that, there were two things in there that are not finalized. There's now one thing in there not finalized. So just realize there's a placeholder there. What I put in for the buffer is a placeholder for right now. That'll be finalized shortly. And I did confirm that a work day, we are talking about 8 hours. So we're purchasing 10 winter days. Those are 8-hour days. We're purchasing 2 summer days, but what we're actually purchasing is 16 working hours. And I did leave in there a clause for us to be able to purchase more days at the agreed upon rate, annual rate, if we deemed that we needed them. And I did put in a 2.5% inflation, call it what you like, just on the summer days. His winter help, he did not make me believe that was any, that varied very much, but it's the summer help that varies. So I put in a 2.5% annual increase in there to take care of any varying costs that may come up around minimum wage, fuel prices, those types of things, which was something he had mentioned in our initial conversation. So those were incorporated in there.
Are we tied into a full day?
We are not. The way that I introduced it to him was, say a tree falls on Farmview 1 in a storm, and Dan gets a phone call. Dan calls Matt and says, we have a tree down. Can you please go take care of it? He will go and take care of it. And instead of billing us as he normally would have, what he will do is deduct the amount of hours off of the amount of hours we purchase. So we're purchasing 2 days, which is 16 working hours. If that tree takes him 3 hours, we now have 13 hours of his time left that is already prepaid. I asked him to let us know periodically how many hours we have left so that we can determine if more days are needed, or we just want to go on an ad hoc basis. Once we expend through those 16 hours, we're basically back to where we would have been with contacting him doing the job, and us being billed, per project.
And if we don't need him as much?
If we don't need him as much, what we would do is we would take those additional summer hours and use them towards our priority plan.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we will never be hung with more hours, and the way that we have it structured with a quarterly payment plan, we'll never really be putting money out in advance either.
Right. So we get like carryover minutes on our cell phone plan.
Well, sure, but we already have stuff in the bank where we know we're going to spend it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just a matter of us managing it, reserving some for the emergencies, but we know that we have a lot of work that we want to do, and so it's putting it to work.
Okay. And Sean, Dan, have you reviewed it already, or you need to look?
No, this is Sean. Sean wrote it. It's for all of us to review and comment.
Okay. Okay, good. Got it. All right, any other actions that I might have missed? No? Okay. Well, I think we're then adjourned, if there's no other comments. And thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for those who might have been listening or listening once it's on YouTube and Facebook. And we'll see you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye. Night.
Good night.